This leaf is currently detached from everything. It has no stem, no roots, and no soil to draw from. Yet inside this single piece of your plant is everything required to build a completely new life from scratch. It carries its own water, its own energy, and a cellular blueprint for survival. This isn't just a lucky accident, it's an ancient survival mechanism, refined over millions of years, so that a leaf nudged off by a passing animal or blown loose in a storm can still find a way to start again. Today, we're going to slow this process down to look at the exact biological steps your succulent takes to rebuild itself, whether you're starting from a leaf, a stem cutting, or an offset. Understanding the biology behind these steps removes the mystery from the process. Once you see your plant as a living system of stored energy and cellular signals, you can work with its natural rhythm instead of guessing. There are 3 primary paths to a new plant: a leaf, a leggy stem cutting, or an offset, the small pups your plant naturally produces. When you harvest a leaf, you want to twist it gently from side to side. You're aiming for a clean break at the base to ensure no vital tissue is left behind on the parent stem. It's vital to choose a leaf that is plump and firm. If you try to propagate a leaf that is already shriveled or yellowing, the process will likely fail before it begins. Think of your leaf like a battery. A plump leaf is fully charged with stored energy and water, whereas a shriveled leaf is already empty. Without that internal reserve, the tissue cannot survive the weeks it takes to grow new roots. Starting with weak material is the most common reason for failure. The leaf simply runs out of fuel before it can establish a root system to replenish itself. Once you have your leaf or cutting, place it on a dry surface out of the sun for 2 to 5 days. The thicker the leaf, the longer this period may take. This is the most important rule of this phase. Do not water it. Do not even let it touch damp soil yet. Your plant is currently callusing, forming a natural bandage of dried, protective tissue over the open wound where it was detached. If you skip this, you expose the plant to Pythium, a fungus that uses tiny swimming spores to invade open tissue. The callus acts as a physical shield. It blocks these pathogens, safely allowing your plant to become an independent organism. Most beginners fail because they are too eager to water. By waiting for that callus to harden, you prevent rot before the roots ever have a chance to grow. Once calloused, lay your leaves flat on the surface of a well-draining succulent mix. You want a soil with a strong macropore structure, meaning large air spaces between the particles. Stem cuttings should be placed upright but very shallow. Look at the difference here. On the left, the leaf rests on the surface. On the right is the mistake, burying the base deep. Burying the tissue leads to root hypoxia, or oxygen starvation. The roots are essentially drowning in water while suffocating for air at the same time because the wet soil has collapsed those vital air spaces. That healing wound needs constant airflow to stay healthy while it begins the work of generating new cells. Your plant doesn't need to be buried to find water. Its tissues are highly sensitive and can sense moisture in the soil below, even from the surface. Surface placement aligns with the plant's natural mechanics. It allows for gas exchange while encouraging the new roots to grow downward in search of that moisture. Now place your tray in bright, indirect light with steady airflow. Avoid dark corners or enclosed cupboards. Your watering protocol should be minimal. A very light misting every few days, only when the soil is completely dry, is more than enough. Keep your cuttings away from harsh direct sunlight. Without roots, your plant has no way to replace the water it loses in the heat. Intense sun causes photooxidative bleaching. This is a cellular circuit overload, where damaging reactive oxygen species build up faster than the plant can neutralize them, leading to permanent chlorophyll damage. This stage requires patience. Avoid the urge to tug on the leaves or disturb the soil to see if roots are forming. Propagation is an exercise in restraint. Intervening too much disrupts a biological process that relies entirely on your plant's own internal timeline. Success starts quietly. You'll eventually see tiny, pale pink threads reaching down into the gaps between the soil particles. A week or two later, a miniature rosette will appear at the base of the leaf. This is the moment your propagation truly becomes a new plant. As the baby grows, you'll notice the original mother leaf beginning to shrivel and turn papery. This is the result of a resource transfer. The plant is draining its parenchyma tissue, the fleshy cells that act like cellular sponges, to feed the new rosette. It's effectively emptying its own pantry to give the baby its best start. Once the mother leaf is completely dry and the baby has an established root system, you can move it into its own small terracotta pot. The shriveling of that original leaf isn't a sign of failure. It is the final step in a successful life cycle transition. Every massive succulent collection starts exactly like this, with the patience to let a single leaf follow its own biological path. To succeed, just remember the checklist. Start with a firm leaf, let it callus, lay it flat on the soil, provide indirect light, and most importantly, wait. This process has worked for millions of years in the wild. By following these steps, you're simply giving your plant the environment it needs to do what it already knows how to do. Which succulent species are you planning to propagate next? Tell us in the comments so we can keep the conversation going. Understanding the biological mechanism behind the care gives you the clarity to step back. Now that you know the rules your plant is following, you can trust its nature to do the rest.